My wife and I stopped for an evening snack last night. We just shared an appetizer at Chili's, but while we were there, I noticed father and his son come in and sit on the booth on the other side from the glass from us. Not an unusual thing, right? What was unusual was that when Dad went to sit down, he kind of picked his seat and the son walked to the same side with him. So Dad went to the other side and the son walked to the same side with him again. And eventually the little boy just got in the booth and slid all the way in and patted the seat for Dad to sit down next to him. And that, to me, was remarkable. Welcome to Leading Leaders Podcast. 5-minute videos, 5 days a week. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast. I kind of watched as literally they were in the same booth we were on the other side of the booth and the glass between us. That's all. Just a little wall and the glass between us. But the interaction between them was so innocent and direct. And I wonder, I don't know anything about them. I don't know who they are at all. I don't know Dad and I don't know the little boy. I don't know anything. I know nothing. But the observation of the interaction between them was, I think, what every little boy wants with his dad and probably what every dad wants with his little boys. They cut up with each other and, they had everything on the table perfectly arranged, and between the crayons and the coloring sheet and where his drink was and the little game that is also a menu that also takes your credit card payment, he had it all set up and he said, "This is my office." He kept telling Dad, "This is my office." And so when it was time for refills and the server came to bring Dad a drink, he was ready for a drink as well, but his cup was barely touched. And the server said, "I'll be glad to refill it, just take the lid off." And he started trying to rearrange things, and Dad's like, "No, it's okay, the food will be here in a minute." It was really kind of funny watching the whole process. But see, here's the reality. And I told him this before we left. I actually walked around to the other side of the booth, and I said to the little man, I said, "Is this your daddy?" And he said, "Yes." And a big smile lit up on his face. And I said, "You realize how much he needs you. You're very important to him, but he needs you. He needs you to let him be daddy every day, just like that. Because I grew up without my dad, and you have no idea how important that is for him to be your dad." And the little guy's face just beamed, and Dad gave me a high five, and I walked out the door. And as I walked by, one of the servers had a little tear in her eye, and she said, "You don't know how true that is." Oh, I do know how true that is. I didn't know how true it was for her life. But see, there's this something missing in our society today. And it's not just in America, because I see it all over the world. And that is this concept of the broken family, where dads are not around, whether they're in jail or they're off to work or they're traveling around the country trying to make a living. They're just not present. And there are certain things that only a dad can say to his son. There's certain relationship encounters that only a father can explain to his son. And as good as my mom was not a dad. She did a phenomenal job of raising us, but she couldn't be a dad. And today in our society, there's a big gap. A big gap. But the problem is we've allowed success to define us. We've allowed media to define us. And when I say us, I mean we as men. We've allowed all kinds of definitions to be placed on us about race, about income, about success, about education level, and all of these monikers and measurements that absolutely mean nothing in the grand scheme of things. Oh, sure, they're another way to measure yourself. They're another way to mark another notch on your head post, so to speak. But in the grand scheme of things, they mean nothing. I heard actually one of my coaching clients yesterday used a very powerful phrase. She said, "I begin to ask myself, when this relationship is over, whose footprints will be left in their life? When this relationship is over, whose footprints will be left in their life?" And I want to challenge you as leaders with that question, and especially if you're men, and especially if you've brought children into this world. You need them to help define you as a man and as a father as much as they need you for moral support, for education, for mentoring, for training, and for carrying on in life. But you need them to help define you. Because who you are is dad. Now, I'm going to say this. This is hard, but it's true. It doesn't matter where you are in your relationship, whether it's been a phenomenal relationship or it's been an absentee relationship. If you brought kids into this world and you're dad, now's the time to start asking yourself, how can I improve the quality of this relationship? How can I open up channels of communication? How can I pour into them the things that I've learned to shortcut the path to success for them? How can I make their life better? Because I promise you, from government entities to media to rap music to rock music, everybody in the world wants to leave their footprints in the life of your child. But you need to understand that who you are is as much defined by their very existence as anything else you'll ever do or accomplish. So I challenge you as leaders, especially as men, and especially as dads. This is not time to back off. This is not time to kowtow to the concepts of toxic masculinity. Don't be a jerk, but be a man. Don't be a fool, but be a man. And for heaven's sake, if you have the privileged opportunity to be a dad, step up, man up, and be a dad. And remember, you need them as much as they need you. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day. Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom.